Cayce, you will give the relation of this entity in the universe, and the universal forces, giving the conditions that are as personalities, latent and exhibited in the present life. Also the former appearances in the earth's plane, giving the time, place, and the name, and that in that life which built or retarded the development for the entity, giving the abilities of the present entity and that to which it may attain, and how. E.c. While going back over the years, many changes will come from and through the efforts of some of those born near Bury St Edmunds, England, on the 17th of March, 1918. We have the entity here, and those relations with the universe and universal forces, as are latent and exhibited in the present Earth's plane. In entering the Earth's plane we find this entity coming under the influence of the cusps, also of Uranus, Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus, with varying influences in the other planets, as we shall see by, through, and of the appearances in the Earth's plane. In the present sojourn we find one very exceptional in many ways and manners, eccentric to a fault at times. In many conditions very active, especially in line of reasoning or thought, yet at times, apparently to others, dumb, as might be termed in a slang manner, in gaining just the point of view as is trying to be explained to the body. Yet, as is seen through the Uranian influence, one that may go far in the field of study, either in science or in the study of any element pertaining to literature or of mathematics. Apparently these are at variance with each other, yet the entity finds many of these conditions presenting themselves in the influences, urges, as are felt from time to time. The study of the mystic, of mystery, of anything of that nature, peculiarly interesting. Yet the insight as is gained by the entity from the study of same is often at variance to that condition, position, or understanding as is reached by others. 1. As we find, that is home-loving, with all of these varying conditions presenting themselves. 4. As we will see from the urges received through the appearances, one of strong will, one of strong mind, yet at times easily persuaded to give in, as it were, to the ideas and ideals of others, yet to the entity this is reasoned and studied out often after such conditions, or after such position has been taken by the entity. One that loves art, for art's sake rather than its application to others, and one that often does not understand why the beauty, the effect of these influences of art in the lives of others are not understood by others. One of a very high mental ability, one of a very high ennobling influence in the lives of others, yet one that often is found to be in the position of when faults, or when other elements enter in wherein others might see the error, the entity has to have such pointed out to it. Not being dumb in the sense of lacking in abilities, but gaining the viewpoint of the other as the condition to be striven for by the entity at times. So, as we would give, one that may be termed a dreamer, yet many of the dreams come true. One that loves those that are true, and hates falsehood in any manner or in any act, and these conditions are as the laws of the body in mental, in moral, in religious or in economical conditions. In the appearances, we find these have much to do with many of the urges as are seen in the life of the entity, and those are as those conditions that lie very near to the entity gaining just the insight into what is meant for the entity, the body, the mind, to accomplish through the various experiences in the earth's plane. In the one before this we find in the French court, when there were many changes being made, the entity among those brought into the court by one that held a position in England, and the entity established itself well there, becoming a power and an influence in the conditions political and social that came about through many of the changes that happened there. Then in the name Florence. In this experience we find the entity gained and lost, balancing, as it were, well toward the development of that position, to that understanding, as must be attained through a sojourn in the earth's plane. In the urges is felt from this, the dislike, innately, of French or Frenchy conditions. Rather the love of the homeland, Yet there is ever the wonder, ever the desire for the great outdoors or open places, or quiet and shady places, where the study of nature may be inclined to meet the needs of the mind and the individual. In the one before this we find in the plains, when there were wars in that now known as Persia, the entity then among those of the Bedouin tribes that brought in captives from that court, and the entity among those who kept charge of such captives, acting in the capacity of the interpreter and of the keeper to those so brought in. In the name then Nile. In this experience the entity gained much through this sojourn, for the study of those conditions that as innate desires were brought forward through the entity's experience in the open places and the open spaces. Hence desert wastes, and the palm tree offers a peculiar feeling for the entity, and the shady pool with the trees about same. The entity is satisfied to let the rest of the world act as it may when surrounded by such conditions, and through these may be seen many of the conditions that others do not understand in the innate feeling of the entity. Not that home is loved the less, not that the conventionalities of these surroundings are unminded by the entity, yet little of convention ever enters first the mind of the entity when such conditions are presented. In the one before this we find in that Egyptian country, when there were changes in that position, as it were, of church and state, the entity then among those who were in the keeping of those as were banished by the king, when divisions arose, keeping especially the young of those that were so banished. In the name then Nasi, and the entity gained, and then lost mightily, in that as was attempted to be perpetrated, as it were, by the entity's position, loving rather the suffering of those that were banished, and desiring to put self in an exalted position with those in power, losing in self-expression through the desire to gain fame and position for self. In the urges is felt from this, that as is seen in the peculiar feelings, as represents tenets of religious truth and its relation to man. In the one before this we find in the country now submerged, and the entity among those of the high priestess to the then worshipped or worshipful position held by such, loving pomp, loving glory, loving in the desires of being bounded about with those things that gave ease, comfort, and the feelings of earthly condition, yet losing little in that experience. In the name Sasok, as would be at present. In the urges as seen from this experience, we find the entity desires, as it were, innately, those better understandings of the ease with which one slips into the vicissitudes of fleshly desire. See? Fine point in these. Yet the entity loves the study of this. In the abilities, then, as is seen, much may be attained in the present experience, either through that of writing, or of the teaching to those that understand little of the innate forces as may be manifest through self. Yet forget not that self must be kept aright, for through the will much may be gained or much may be lost. We are through for the present.